unknown drones in Europe, the front moving towards Zaporizhzhia, and the final court hearing in the case of the murdered ballerina. All this and more right now. Hello, friends. I'm Irina Prokofieva, and this is TSN. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, watch the broadcast, and be sure to comment on what you found most interesting. We're getting started. The Air Force destroyed 97 out of 115 enemy drones last night. Our air defenders were active in the north, south, east, and center of our country. This time, the Russians launched drones from several regions of the Russian Federation at once, as well as from temporarily occupied Crimea. The air attack was repelled by aviation, anti-aircraft missile troops, electronic warfare, and drone units, and mobile fire groups of the Ukrainian Defense Forces. However, in 6 locations, hits by 17 drones were recorded, and in 2 more, debris fell. The enemy attacked a car in the Zinop of the Novorodsky community in Sumy region. A Russian drone struck directly into the windshield. 1 man was killed and another was wounded. In the Pokrovsk community in Dnipropetrovsk region, drones targeted residential buildings and a woman was injured as a result of a drone strike. A house, garages, and a car caught fire. An administrative building, a museum, and a store were damaged. In the Nikopol district, there was destruction on the territory of an industrial enterprise, and private homes were also damaged in Nivikina. In the village of Verkhnya Tersa in Zaporizhzhia region, Russians attacked an agronomist. An FPV drone damaged agricultural machinery. The man sustained shrapnel wounds and is currently in the hospital. Over the past day, 11 settlements came under Russian airstrikes. Chernihiv is recovering from strikes on energy facilities. The situation with water supply remains difficult, as not all facilities have been reconnected to the central power grid yet. Some are operating on alternative energy sources. In the morning, the enemy attacked the outskirts of Kherson with drones. A local resident suffered a blast injury. At night, Russian forces shelled the area with artillery. The Korabel neighborhood came under fire. Homes and shops were damaged. The houses caught fire and 1 burned down completely.
We were sleeping quite peacefully, and then around 4 o'clock in the morning, the devastating strikes hit. We quickly jumped up and immediately grabbed our clothes. We ran out into the street, almost naked, got dressed, and then the fire really started. I managed to save a few things, and this is the result.
Some train services were cancelled after the enemy shelling in the Odesa region. The Russians targeted the railway infrastructure with attack drones. The shelling caused power outages, so some trains were pulled by backup diesel locomotives. Certain routes are running on shortened schedules, and intercity trains to and from Odesa were delayed by an average of about 3 hours. Trains to Kyiv, Lviv, Chernivtsi, and Kovel were delayed. Similarly, some international trains are also arriving late. This was reported by Ukrzaliznytsia. The Kyiv-Vienna train was delayed by almost 5 hours, and the Zaporizhzhia-Lviv train by 2.5 hours. The Kyiv-Budapest train is running with a delay of up to 6 hours. Railway workers are trying to eliminate the consequences of the attack as quickly as possible, Ukrzaliznytsia assures. An unexploded shell was found on a street in Zaporizhzhia. A half-ton aerial bomb fell near a house and did not detonate. State Emergency Service sappers evacuated all residents from the streets, as the munition could have exploded at any moment, and its shrapnel has a damage radius of about 1 kilometer. The pyrotechnicians removed the bomb from the crater, transported it away from the city, and neutralized it. Rescuers urge Ukrainians, if they discover suspicious objects, not to approach or touch them, but to immediately call 101 or 102. The enemy is advancing towards Zaporizhzhia on the front line. The Russians are still far from the city, but according to the latest data from the Deep State analytical portal, over the past day they have managed to get closer to several settlements. Specifically, Berezove, Kalinivske, Olhinske, and Novoivanivka. Enemy advances have also been recorded near Yampil. This is the Siversky direction. The General Staff of the Armed Forces of Ukraine recorded 186 engagements over the past day. The situation remains hottest in the Pokrovsk sector. There, the enemy does not stop their assaults, neither by day nor by night. For several weeks, the Russians have not stopped trying to capture Kupiansk in the Kharkiv region, where enemy sabotage groups are constantly infiltrating. Overall, in the past day, Ukrainian Defense Forces managed to eliminate 970 occupiers and 3,500 enemy drones, 40 artillery systems, and 1 tank. Meanwhile, the commander-in-chief of the armed forces, Oleksandr Syrsky, stated that over the past year, the front line has grown by 200 kilometers, and the Russians are still using twice as many shells against our defense forces. However, our soldiers make up for this with the accuracy of their strikes, reconnaissance, and targeting of the most important enemy assets, Syrsky stated. Ukrainian drones struck an oil pumping station in Russia's Chuvashia region. This was announced by the governor of the republic on his Telegram channel. He writes that there is no threat to the population, the damage is minor, the emergency response system is operating in enhanced mode, and assures that the situation is fully under control. However, the facility's operations have been suspended, oil is not being pumped, and it is unclear when they will resume. It is only known that this is already the fourth strike by Ukrainian drones on strategic facilities in Chuvashia. Ukraine has struck 60 strategic energy facilities in Russia over the past 6 weeks. Analysts from reporting from Ukraine note that Ukraine's campaign of using long-range drones against Russian oil refineries has achieved phenomenal results. Almost a fifth of the oil refining capacity of the aggressor country has been put out of operation. Experts note that Ukraine has managed to turn isolated, irregular attacks into a powerful assault on Russia's oil refining industry. As examples, they cite the strikes on the Samara, Syzran, Saratov, Ilsky, and Afipsky oil refineries in the Krasnodar region. There were also attacks on one of the largest processing enterprises in the Volgograd region and Bashkortostan. The plants were attacked using a similar pattern, a powerful attack and air raids that make repairs impossible. According to experts, after 6 attacks over 6 weeks, the plant was completely put out of commission. As soon as the refinery tried to restore its equipment, repeated strikes were carried out, keeping the facility inoperable. Over the past 2 weeks, the country has struck at least 15 major oil facilities, including refineries and pumping stations across Russia. In total, over 2 months, 21% of the aggressor's oil refining capacity has been damaged or put out of commission. Satellite images have confirmed large fires and damage to oil refining towers and storage tanks. Suspicious drones were spotted near Sweden's main naval base. This was reported by local media. Last night over the Swedish archipelago, near Karlskrona, a pair of unidentified UAVs were spotted. Both were shining with red and green lights, which made them visible in the dark. Local police have already opened a case under articles concerning violations of aviation law and the law on the protection of facilities. The airspace of Denmark was also disturbed by unidentified UAVs, according to the country's Ministry of Defense. Drone flights were observed near military facilities, in particular over the main airbase of the Royal Danish Air Force in Karup. Several birds were observed over its territory. The military say that special units were deployed for a rapid response to the incident, but the results of the operation have not been disclosed. And the Ukrainian Center for Countering Disinformation of the National Security and Defense Council has commented on this, stating that ignoring such incidents will not help Europeans. They say that Russia aims to paralyze air traffic in certain European countries, and if there is no response, the number of drones in the skies over European states may increase. The head of the center, Andriy Kovalenko, explains that in this way, Moscow is trying to spread the idea among Europeans that supporting Ukraine harms the EU, as well as to boost the standing of pro-Russian politicians. But above all, the Kremlin's goal is to make Europe dependent and to restore its influence from the days of the Soviet Union. The International Paralympic Committee has reinstated the membership of Russia and Belarus. The corresponding decision was made in Seoul. In this way, these countries have effectively regained the rights and privileges they had previously lost. Let me remind you that due to the full-scale invasion in 2022, Russians and Belarusians were suspended from participating in the Winter Paralympics. And then 2 years later, in the summer, they were allowed to compete, but only under a neutral status. So will athletes from the aggressor countries be able to participate in the competitions in Italy in 2026 under their national flags and with their anthems? TSN asked the president of the National Paralympic Committee of Ukraine, Valery Sushkevich.
The Russian Paralympic Committee in its entirety possesses all the very same rights and privileges at the Paralympic Games as do the Ukrainian Paralympians, who are also participating. Unfortunately, the same decision was made regarding the Belarusians. Delegates from the vast continents of Africa and Asia spoke out with strong voices. They constituted the overwhelming majority, and some of the delegates present Some African delegates have told me in confidence without explicitly naming their specific countries. And there was pressure created in certain sports, such as biathlon, for example. Russia is unlikely to be able to participate because the International Biathlon Federation, for example, made a very fair and strict decision. We will not allow any athletes from Russia to participate in either the Olympic or Paralympic Games.
In your opinion, is there a place for Russian and Belarusian athletes in international competitions? Be sure to write your opinion in the comments to this broadcast on YouTube. Of course, give us a like and subscribe to the channel. Meanwhile, I will continue with the TSN broadcast. He delivered ammunition to the front lines. She lost her baby and a limb under shelling. They met at a rehabilitation center and had a child together. She did. Legendary combat donkeys. HIMARS helped the military deliver supplies along a difficult section of the front while the wounded mother was evacuated from Siversk. She became the first donkey in Ukraine to have a prosthesis. It was made all the way in Australia to custom measurements and delivered to a village in Dnipropetrovsk region via the United States. TSN correspondent Ola Pavlovska visited the family and is ready to tell us more.
The newly minted father, HIMARS, is out in the pasture. Mom and the baby are resting in the pen, silently. Aurora is 3 weeks old.
We definitely weren't planning for her to have kids, but HIMARS, who's braying in the background, had other ideas. One night he managed to sneak into her enclosure after cleaning it.
HIMARS is a true combat donkey of the armed forces of Ukraine.
The equipment made it to the donkeys. There are reinforcements in the unit, HIMARS and HIMARS.
He ended up in the military in Donetsk region. Almost everyone left the village on the front line. The donkey was homeless, left all alone.
The animal was so exhausted.
The soldiers, together with a veterinarian, developed a special diet and enlisted him into service. In the section of the front where vehicles couldn't get through due to constant shelling, he delivered supplies twice a day.
Our newest weapon.
But the combat donkey didn't want to be mobilized.
Come on, buddy, come in.
However, they managed to get him first to Odesa, to a private apartment by the sea, and then, miraculously saving him from shelling, transported him to Zeleny High in the Dnipropetrovsk region.
We took him out on Tuesday at 4 p.m., brought him here at midnight, and in the middle of the night, we completely trained and settled him into the enclosure in Odesa. And there, just half a day and a millimeter, and he could have been gone.
At the Animal Rescue Center for Animals from Combat Zones, there is a special rehabilitation program for veterans.
HIMARS was officially registered with the Armed Forces of Ukraine and received rations.
Veterans with prosthetics go to visit Mamulya, the only donkey in Ukraine with a prosthesis.
Do you want to put it on? You know what this is, and you know that with it she can walk more freely?
The frightened and bloodied donkey was evacuated from the combat zone by the military 2 years ago. In Siversk, under shelling, she lost her baby and part of her limb.
Her hoof was hanging on quite precariously by just a thin piece of skin.
This is how she was taken from the clinic after the amputation. Over 600 bandages and numerous surgeries. Her story became known far beyond Ukraine, and people decided to order a prosthesis for the animal at their own expense. Here, in the Dnipropetrovsk region, they took a cast and sent it to Australia. There, using her individual measurements, they made a prosthesis and sent it to the clients in the United States. And from there, it traveled all the way around the world to a Ukrainian village, to Mamulya.
She doesn't neigh, she's a mare. She decided that she is a mare.
And she gallops long distances with the horses with her prosthesis.
Now she's with us, thriving.
She was protected from an unplanned pregnancy because it would put too much strain on her body. But fate had other plans.
We've never seen her this happy before. She stands by the little one, she spends all her time with her.
For now, she walks with the baby in the nursery without her prosthesis. She eagerly grabs treats from the veterans.
It's touching and good that the boys were saved. It's a very interesting story, but also very tragic in a way. The main thing is that life goes on, even if you've lost a limb. You can live with this, believe me.
Now, together with little Aurora, Mom helps with the rehabilitation of veterans. However, as a necessary precaution, they consistently endeavor to keep the advanced HIMARS rocket systems safely away from her immediate vicinity.